Hey, my name is Ernie, and in this video, I'm going to show you how you can add captions to your videos using Python. What we're going to do is take a video that doesn't have captions, and then we're going to transcribe the audio and then display the captions as they're being spoken. So this is my input video.
Do you ever hear about that island where the river broke off into a different direction and made this area?
This video happens to have captions, but the point is that we're going to take a video and we're going to replace the actual video with an image. So if I were to want to repurpose this content, for example, then I would just use my own images. And what I end up getting is this video here. This is the one that we'll be producing.
Did you ever hear about that island where the river broke off into a different direction and made this area an island in Africa, and the lions that live there?
So you can see that this has phrase level captions. It doesn't highlight the words as they're being spoken. What I did is replace the video with this image, and then I added the phrase level captions. Eventually, in future videos, we will have these word level highlighting. So we'll display the whole phrase like it's shown here, but as the word is being spoken, it will highlight this. But in this video, we're just gonna have this end result. This is what the code looks like once we are done. So you have your imports, and then we have this function here called display lyrics. This is a function that we're going to use to create a frame of the image given a certain text. So the text is provided here. And basically it creates a text clip from that phrase, and then it superimposes it on that image that we provide, and then it creates a composite video clip, so basically like a frame for that specific phrase. And then here's the function, it's called subtitle video. This takes in the input video path, so this would be your file path to the video that you want to caption. And then the input image path is the image that you want to use in order to replace that video. So this subtitle video function takes in the video, it extracts the name of the video, and then it creates an audio path for that audio that it extracted. It saves it. And then I have this current time function here, this current time variable, so that I can store the current time from when this script is run in this format: year, month, date, hour, minute, second. That way when it gets saved, it doesn't overwrite any other files that you have already. So we load the video, and then we save the audio from that video into this audio path we defined. And then we need to transcribe that audio. So we load the Whisper model. It's developed by OpenAI. It's their transcriber model. There's lots of other ones, and Whisper is a really good one for open source models. You can import different models, pre-trained models, and provide them to Whisper from Hugging Face. But we're just going to be using the medium model, which is OpenAI's pre-trained model. Another good vendor would be Deepgram. They have a really good transcriber model. But for this example, I'll just be using Whisper since we're working locally. And even if you're not, you could deploy your Whisper or your script to the cloud, but you would want to have a GPU if you're using it for production, because this is a lot faster. It's pretty slow on just the CPU, so it would be a lot faster if you had a GPU. And then once you've loaded that model, then you can transcribe that audio file, and then the result of that is provided in the segments and the segments attribute of the results. And so you extract the start time, the end time, and the text for each phrase. You put it in a data frame, a Pandas DataFrame, and we'll use that in a minute. With the input video that we want to replace, basically, we create a video clip so that we can get the duration of it. That way we can make the new video, which is basically just going to be an image. We can make it the same length. So we create that image clip using that input image, and then we set the duration to the same length as the original video. And then we set the frames per second to be the same as the video clip. we get the dimensions of the video clip or the image clip, and then we create the subtitles clip. We use the subtitles that we created. This is a tuple, and we've generated that tuple from the dictionary of the segments. And I'll explain this in more detail once we get into the code. But you have your subtitles clip, and it takes in the subtitles that you've formatted. It needs to be formatted in a way that subtitles clip expects. And then it accepts a generator function. If you want to format your captions in a specific way, then you would provide it with a function that basically takes in the function supposed to take in the text, and then it returns whatever format you want for that specific caption. So in this case, my generator function is called display lyrics, and I'm using a partial function because I'm importing the function tools partial so that I can provide this display lyrics, which is my generator function. I could provide it with an initial variable that's coming from the size of my image. I'll explain that more in detail later on. But basically, this generator function, all it does is it takes in the text, and then I create a text clip, and here's the formatting for that text clip. And then I create a background for that clip so that it looks something like this. So this is my original image. And then when I format it, it has a background color so that it's not just the text. So that's the purpose of this background clip. And then it returns a composite video clip, which is really just one still frame, which is one image. And that's what's returned for each phrase. And then that's what's allowing us to display the subtitles for each frame of the video, depending on what phrase we're currently on. So once you have this subtitles clip created, you can create a composite video clip, basically combine the image clip and the subtitles clip. You center the subtitles in the image, and that creates your final video. You want to make sure that you set the audio, because when we created this, we're just using the image clip, which is just a still image with a duration set to however long the original video is, but it doesn't have an audio. So we have to set the audio, and then once we set the audio, we're ready to save that video. So we write it to a video file. We've defined the path here with the current time, that way it doesn't overwrite in my temporary folder here. And the FPF is set, frames per second is set, and the codec, audio codec, so on. It saves the video, and once it runs, that's when you get these files. So you can see it's got the formatted date, and then you get this video. Okay, so let's get started with the code. First, you need to run pip install requirements. So if I run that, it'll install all of my dependencies here. You'll also need to install FFmpeg. If you don't already have it installed, in order to use Whisper, we need to have FFmpeg installed. So if you have any issues, it likely is because if your FFmpeg install. So just refer to the OpenAI Whisper documentation on GitHub so that you can install that library. Once you have these two installed, then we can start with our imports. Okay, so here I have all of the imports that I'm going to need. We're going to need Whisper to transcribe. We're going to need this partial function in order to create partial functions. We're going to need pandas. We're going to need a video file clip to create clips out of the videos that we have. And then we're going to need the MoviePy editor. So we should import everything. And then we're going to need the subtitles clip and the OS and date time. The date time is so that we can set a current time so that we're not overwriting any files as we are testing. So we use the date time to create the current time, and we do that with datetime.now. And then we stringify the time, and we put it in a format that we want, which is going to be year, month, day, hour, minute, second. And then we're going to use this so that we could title our videos. So to get started, we're going to need a function called subtitle video, and it's going to take in the input video path and the input image path that we're going to replace the video with, and then we would call it with some variables. And I already have some files here, so this is the image path that I want to provide it with, and that input video path is given here. And then the input video path is the video that we want to transcribe, and it's already autofilling it for me. That sounds correct. So I just provide these two values into my function. So the first thing let's write down a few steps that we need to do. We need to load the video so that we can extract the audio, and then we need to transcribe the audio, and then from that transcription we need to get the segments so that we can show the captions for the different phrases. So create segments for phrases, and then we need to, using those segments, we need to create subtitles with segments. Once we have our subtitles, we have our input image, then we load the input image, or I should say create video with input image. And then now that we have our subtitles as a clip and our image as a clip, we can create final video of image with subtitles and original audio. This is easier to do without replacing the image, but this is if you want to create your own content and you want to just use an image. You could even use a video as well, as long as it's the same length as the original video. You can replace the original video with a separate video and just keep the audio from the original video. Before we load the video, we're going to want to get the file name. So we'll extract the base name so that we only have the file name. So like instead of taking this whole path, we just take the last bit of it, so the file name with the extension. And then we just want to have the name itself without the extension, so we use the OS path split text, and it's going to split it into just the file name and the extension. So we just want to get the first value. And we do this so that we can rename our audio, because we're going to extract the audio from this video, and we want to have the audio saved in a file with a similar name. So this is the path where the audio will be saved. It's in my temp folder. And the audio path is going to be given by this full path here, and then followed by the current time, so that we're keeping track of which video this is, and then just the video file name without the extension. We're ready to load the video, so we will load it with MoviePy video file clip, and we give it the path to the input video file. In order to extract the audio, we take that video clip, get its audio attribute, and then we write an audio file using this audio path that we've defined up here. Now that we've extracted the audio, we can move on to transcribing it, but in order to do that, we need to load our transcriber model. And since we're using Whisper, which we already imported above, we would define our model like so, whisper.loadModel. And as I mentioned early in this video, you can choose different models. There's tiny, there's medium, large, and several others. You can even import one from Hugging Face. It will work with Whisper, but I'm just going to be using medium because it gives me pretty good results. So we're ready to transcribe, and for that we will run model.transcribe. We give it the audio path, which we had saved after we extracted it from the video, and then we give it the task to translate. We won't be using word timestamps for now. We can leave it in there just so that you can see what it looks like. We're just going to be taking segments or phrases. Within those phrases, you can get the word level timestamps, but in this video, we'll just be using phrase level timestamps, and then in the future, we'll cover the word level. And then the next thing would be to create the segment. So basically parse out this result from the model after it transcribes it. And for that, we're going to be working with Pandas DataFrames because I find it easier to work with than a dictionary where you have to figure out how the JSON is displayed. So we'll create a dictionary that's going to store the start times, the end times, and the text for that phrase. So each value in this text is going to be a phrase, and then the start time is when that phrase started and when that phrase ends. That way when we show the subtitles, it's only shown for this time window here. So we'll take the segments. So for segment in result segments, and this will give us our segment, and let's see. And this is exactly what we want. It's already autofilling it for me. I'm using Google Gemini, which is the same as GitHub Copilot, but it's using Google's model. And then from here we can create our data frame using the dictionary. So pd.dataframe, and then using that dictionary we just created. And I'm not sure if it'll actually work like this. I've always done it with from dict. And then, so here we go. This will create our data frame. And then we can actually save this data frame to a CSV in case we run into issues later on in our code. We want to be able to just import these subtitles already so that we don't have to run this code before, which takes a long time. You know, transcribing a video takes a long time. So by saving it to a CSV, we'll be able to just load it instead of having to rerun the transcription again for that video. So now at this point, since we do have the subtitles saved as a CSV, we can just load the previously saved sub files, and we can load that as a data frame using the pandas.read CSV, and then we provided the path that we had previously saved it to, and then we set the header to be the first row, and then we named the columns, so start, end, and text, and we define the type so that when it imports it, it knows that the start and end times are integers, because that is what the model returns. But since right now I'm going to be running this, I'm not going to be running it from the one that I already have saved. So now that we have our subtitles in Pandas, we can create the subtitles with subtitles clip, and this function here was imported from MoviePy editor. And if you look at the documentation for subtitles clip, you can see that it takes in the subtitles, and this can be in the form of a list, or it can be an SRT file. I'm going to be providing it with a tuple, which is another form of a list, and then we can pass it with a generator function that takes in each text and it formats it. So that could look like generator is equal to a lambda, where it takes in a piece of text or a phrase, and then you return a text clip. So in that text clip is where you format that text, and here I've defined a font. The MoviePy library uses the same fonts that are available in ImageMagick. So as long as it's available in ImageMagick, then you can use that font. You can also import your own to customize it further, but I won't go into that in this video just for simplicity. And then I can define the font size and then the color, and that will apply this lambda function for basically for each segment in my subtitles, each phrase. So this is the subtitles file, and so for each of these segments, it's going to take in the text and it's going to format it in a certain way. And I can define how I format it so that it displays nicely on my final video. And then the subtitles, they need to be in a format of a list, but I'll have them in the format of a tuple. So I need to define them, and I need to convert this pandas data frame into a tuple. And I want this tuple to be in the format of a tuple of tuples. So for the first one, I'll have the start time, and then I'll have the end time, and then the text, and then I'll have the next tuple will be the same. And I actually need this one, the start and end time, so the timestamp needs to be a tuple of its own, and then it can be in a tuple with the text. That's just the format that this subtitles clip is expecting. So in order to do that, what I'll need to do is take the data frame, and I'll take the start column, and I just want the values. So that'll give me the entire values for this blue column here. And then I will take the data frame and values, and let's just let it fill in. So I want these two to be combined for every, so if we're in index 0 of the start column, I want it to combine with index 0 of the end column, and so on, all the way until the end. So in order to do that, I need to zip these together. And then this will create a tuple where each index has a tuple of the time frame. And then I want to combine that list or tuple with the values in the text here. And it needs to be by the same index. So now I'll zip these together. And now that I have these zipped in the format that I had specified in the beginning, then I can make a tuple out of this. And so now I can provide these to my subtitles clip. Okay, now we're ready to create a video with the image. So I will create an image clip with image clip input image path, and then I want to set a duration. So I'll say duration. I want it to be the same duration as my video, which is called my clip. So I'll actually rename this anywhere it appears. Video clip. I'll call it that. And I want to set the duration of this image clip. So now it's converting it basically one frame with one image into multiple frames that are going to be showing for this duration. And then I need to define the frames per second, and I want it to be the same as the frames per second of the video. Okay, so now that we have that, we can create the final video. Let's just call it final clip. And then to do that, I need to combine the image clip with the subtitles clip here, or the array, because this is going to return an array of subtitle clips. That array is generated by this list or tuple, and it's going to be running that tuple through this generator function, which is just this lambda function, right? So I can create a composite video clip. It's allowing me to fill it in. So composite, and yes, I do want the image clip, and then I want to, so the order here matters. I want the image clip to be in the background, and then I want to superimpose the subtitles on the image clip. So that looks good. And right now we've created a video using this image and these subtitles, but we don't have any audio. So we need to set the audio, and we'll set it to, let's see, video clip audio here. We never defined, I guess we never defined it as a variable. And now we're ready to save this video. So we'll do final video, final clip dot save video. It's actually write video file. And if we hover over this, we can see what inputs it's expecting. So it expects the file name, FPS, frames per second, the codec for the video itself, the audio. So it's true. It does have audio. So I'll just fill these in. This is the path where I want to save it, and then I want to prefix it with the current time, and then I want to name it the same as my original video. I've defined the frames per second and the codec for the video and the audio, and then I set the remove temp to true so that it deletes any temporary files once the final video is created. We actually don't need to return anything, So this should be ready to run. I'm just going to save it. It looks like it's good. I did have to update the file name because I didn't have that file named correctly. So if I run this, I'll just reset it. And I'll skip ahead to once this is done. So it just finished uploading the audio or extracting the audio and saving it. Now it's transcribing the audio file, and it doesn't give me any log messages, but it's slowly transcribing it. Well, first it needs to load it, which does take a little bit of time. I think the model size is 1.42 gigabytes, so it needs to load that before it runs it, before it transcribes. So this will take a few minutes, and I'll just skip ahead. So it actually aired out. It says text clip, got an unexpected keyword argument, font size. I thought I got this from the documentation. I think it's actually font size, so I will clear that and rerun it. I'll skip ahead. It is now saving the video. This just takes a few seconds. It's a short video, so if it's a long video that you're transcribing and then having to regenerate, that will take a long time. In my case, it's just 30 seconds at most, I think. Okay, it says that the video is ready and it gives me the path. So if I go, I can see that the video is there. I won't get any sound from Visual Studio Code, so I just go here. I can see that this is the most current time. I'll open that. So there's no audio in my video. So I need to take a look at what went wrong. Oh yeah, here we go. So when you set the audio, you can't just set it and expect the final clip to have the actual audio. You have to redefine it like this. So I'll just rerun it. Okay, so it finished running and my new video is available. So here is my video. And I do have, it looks like I do have audio. Okay, it does have audio, but the captions are down here. You can see that they're very small. So we want to change that. We want to display them in the center. It also looks like they're truncated. It doesn't have the beginning or the end of that phrase. It just overflows past the video. So we're going to fix that. So this lambda function here is where we define how we want to format our subtitles, and we actually didn't. So here we set the position to be center bottom. We just want them to be in the center. And then our text was pretty small even with the font size. So we can adjust the font size, but it would still be pretty hard to see. So we need to format this a little bit better so that when we have an image in the back that has maybe a lot of white or is very bright, you won't be able to see this white text. So we need to give it a background. And to do that, we will create a new function. Let's call it generator. And let's say display subtitles. And that's going to be our generator function. We're going to pass in. So it expects the text, right? But it's getting past the text within here. So I can actually just define it like this. And I'll get rid of this one, display subtitles. So now I need to create this function called, let's call it display subtitles. And it's going to take in the text that we want to display. So I will just paste in the format that I already have created, and here's what it looks like. So for every phrase that this receives, the font that I'm using is this one. You can install other fonts with ImageMagick. And then the font size, I want it to be based on the image width. So the original image width, because if it's larger, then we can have a larger font size, right? But how do we take this in? If we can't define it here because this display subtitles is only passed one variable within here, and that's the text. So that's the reason why we imported the partial. So we'll be using a partial function, and then we can give it the dimensions of the image clip, which is defined down here. So I'll just move this up here, create video with image. So this is the image clip, and then I will just do image clip dot size. Actually, I don't want to pass in the size. I want to pass in image clip width, and let me shorten it. Actually, it's gonna do it for me. I'm okay with that. Image clip width, image clip height. There we go. Yep, that's correct. So now I can just pass in here image clip width. So this partial is basically going to pass in this value. So I need to take it in my display subtitles, IG image width, and what this partial will return is after it passes in the image width, it'll just return this same function basically, without expecting this variable that has already been defined. So ultimately what this is doing is just giving me the display subtitles with just this input that it's expecting. So I have that defined, and then the stroke width, that's just to make it look nicer. You can define it to be a different color. Basically, it's like the outline of the text. So here I want my text to be white. I want it to be centered. And then I've defined the size, the width of the text clip to be 80% of the image width. And then I want it to be a caption. And then I set the position. This position is set relative to whatever this is being superimposed on. So because we superimposed, let's see, here in the composite video clip, we superimposed the subtitles on the image, then it'll be based on that. So I will add the background, create a text background clip, and it remembers what I had done before. So I'll just go ahead and hit tab so that it fills it in. So it uses a color clip. It's just like, it is what it is. It's a shape in a specific color, and I want the shape to be the same size as the text clip. I can add some padding if I want, but for now I'll just keep it simple. And then the color I want to define is this one. I'm not sure what I set it to. And then I want to position this background clip. I want to center it, but relative to what? Well, that's when I create the composite. I'll create another composite video clip, and that composite video clip will have the text background first. So yeah, I'll just let it autofill. That's correct. I do want the text background to be first because the order matters, and I want the text to be above the background. And then, so this position will be relative to the image, and then the position of the text clip will be relative to the background. And that looks good. Now I can actually just return this. So before we were returning just a text clip, right, with our lambda function. Now you can see how you can really customize the captions. And here we're going to be returning a composite video clip. So where do we go? So generator, yep, that's going to be returned. And now we can run this so that you can see how it looks a lot better. And to show you what I mean about loading the subtitles, I'm going to comment out this transcription. So I don't want to load the model because it's 1.42 gigabytes. It's pretty large. It takes a while to load. And I don't want to transcribe it again because I already have the subtitles saved here. And I actually should mention that these are timestamps in floats. So when you're loading from the CSV file, you define the path, right? You define the column names. You want to make sure that you set the type to float. Otherwise, I think it defaults to string. So this will run a lot faster because all I have to do really now, it won't transcribe, it won't load the model. All I have to do is combine these images and the subtitles into a video, and creating the video is what's going to take the longest. So I'll run that. Let me just clear this so it's easier to see all of the messages, and I'll skip it. Okay, the video is done, so now I can go look for it, pull it up, and you can see that the text is already great. If I were to play this, yeah, we still have audio. If I were to scroll ahead, you can see that the text is staying centered and it's not overflowing. And then we have a constant width, and the height just changes based on how many words are in that text body. and that's set by the formatting I have here. So if you want to have a similar display, just make sure that you set the size to a constant width, and then just don't define the height. Okay, that looks great. So this is ready to upload to some social platform if that's what I want to do. This code is going to be available on GitHub, so you'll be able to just modify the code. I have this other file called text clip script, and what this does is it allows you to play with the formatting. That way you don't have to wait until you generate the whole video. You can just take the image and change the size of the text, and then it'll render immediately. So if I run this, it's done within seconds. And then once I get the formatting correct for my subtitles, my captions, let me just go to that image. Then at that point, I can just copy over whatever settings I have here. I can copy it over to my subtitle video. And then I know that it's going to come out nicely without having to wait for the final video to render. So you can see that this is looking nice, and I know that I can copy over these settings. So for example, if I were to do, I think stroke color, let's just say red so that it stands out. I'll go over here, let's just see, just wait for it to finish. It's done. You can see that stroke color change.